Oh, okay. Hi guys, okay, this is Wancho. Sorry, it's been so long since I did a video on this channel, but I am going to now, as I promised a long time ago, I'm going to discuss now the back half of The Walking Dead Season 7. Alright, so where we left off, now we're in episode 9. So we'll start with episode 9 and we'll go down to episode 16. I'm going to talk about the entire back half now. So, Rick and all his group are at the hilltop. And they're gone there to meet with Maggie and talk with Gregory and trying to get Gregory to take the hilltop and let them go into the battle against Negan. Naturally, Gregory ain't having that. Gregory says, no, we had a deal. You said you could take care of Negan, you didn't, and now our deal is done. We don't want nothing else to do with this. So Gregory's been a coward. Rick and them walk out, and on their way out, some of the hilltop people say, "Look, we know you want to try and take a war against the Saviors. We'll help." All right, so they got some help from some of the hilltop people. Jesus tells Rick, "Look, I have someone I can take you to who will help you. His name is King Ezekiel." So he takes him to the kingdom. As they get to the kingdom, Richard and one of the other kingdom people meet them, and Richard says, "Look, you have to hand over your weapons." Daryl ain't having that. But Jesus talks them into it, and they go and they said, "Look, okay, you can have your weapons. Just come on." So they go in. They get to have they reunite with Morgan because Morgan's at the kingdom. Morgan tells them that Carol is gone. He doesn't tell them where Carol is because Carol told Morgan not to tell anyone where she was. They go and talk to King Ezekiel. Rick tries to plead his case. He tells him, Ezekiel's kind of upset with Jesus a little bit at first that he told him Rick about, but Jesus reassures Ezekiel this is someone who can help, and so Ezekiel obliges and allows Rick to plead his case. And and this is where Morgan finds out that Glenn and Abraham were beaten to death by Negan and killed, and Rosita gives Morgan that, I told you so look, even though Morgan's apologizing, but and Ezekiel pretty much says that, after Rick tells tells Ezekiel his whole rock in the road story. Ezekiel tells him, "Look, you can spend the night here, and I'll give you my answer in the morning." So they stayed at the kingdom. The next day, later on at night, Ezekiel talks with Benjamin, which is one of the people at the kingdom, and then Morgan talks with Daryl while Daryl pets Shiva, Ezekiel's tiger. And the next day, Ezekiel gives Rick his answer. He tells Rick, "No, I'm not going to help you fight." Now, this is a total different diversion from the comics because they wanted to bring, since they didn't want to put All Out War Part 1 into Season 7, in this part they have Ezekiel say no, where in the comics Ezekiel actually says yes, he's going to help him. Which I found very disappointing and again, just stretching this way too far than it needs to be. But anyway, so unfortunately, they leave empty-handed. But Ezekiel did say, since Daryl is a wanted man because the Saviors are going to be looking for him, he said the Saviors don't come in here. They're not allowed in here. So we will give our new friend here, Daryl, asylum. So at least something came out of it. Daryl's not really happy about it. Daryl's like, "I don't want to stay here." Rick's like, "Look, you have to. You are a wanted person. You can't be seen with us." Anyways, and so Daryl begrudgingly stays behind. Rick and them, start making their way back home so that they can start scavenging. and hunting for more people, for more stuff for the Sabres. They have to get back to Atlanta. On the way back, they run to this herd. They deal with the herd. Michonne and Rick do this amazing stunt where Michonne's in one car and Rick's in another car, and it's like a clothesline. They just drive down the road and just cut all these zombies in half. It's just it's one of the better scenes of that season. And then they get back home and they find out that Gabriel has been taken. Good. Now this is also a hint of the beginning of the season, beginning of the episode, where you see Gabriel packing up all his food and getting in his car, and you see someone in the back seat, but we don't know who it is, and we're gonna find out what that is in a minute. So he gets back home. They get back home. They find out the food's gone. They find out that Gabriel has left a note. Naturally, Rosita is thinking, Gabriel, traded on us and abandoned us and ran off. Rick said, no, he wouldn't do that. He left a note here. And so they go back out. Oh, wait, no. No. Before that, that's right. No. Before that, Simon, that's why they had to hurry and get back. Okay, my apologies. I skipped the part. Simon was on his way to Alexandria. That's why they had to rush, because they overheard on the walkie-talkie Negan talking about how Daryl killed Fat Joey and how Daryl escaped. And so Negan, that's why they're on the rush to get back. So they get back and they're met by Tobin, and Rick says, look, Tobin, we need to get everyone prepared. They're on their way. And no sooner Rick says that, here comes Simon and his crew, and they're tearing the place apart, trying to look for Daryl, even in the most ridiculous place. They're knocking over bookshelves. It's really over the top and silly. And then that's when Simon mentions, the bare food shelves, and he says, look, these are some bare, shells, where's all the food? And Rick's like, we're gonna get more. And Simon's like, well, you better, because you know what happens if you don't. And he tells Rick, hey, if Daryl shows up in a week from now, or a month from now, hell, even in a year from now, you better keep that axe handy, because and it's not gonna come out pretty like it did for your boy. And then he leaves, and then that's when they find out about Gabriel and the pantry stuff. And then we get on to them tracking down where Gabriel is. And then we find out that Gabriel has been taken. Well, they find this field, and all these people start coming out. And we find out that all these people live in this garbage dump. And now we meet the trash people, the junkyard people, led by their female leader, Jadis. And Jadis has Gabriel, and Rick is, Rick smiles and thinks that, okay, I finally have an army of people that can help us. And he tries to make, his plea with Jadis, and Jadis is not having it. She's like, we take things, we don't bother, Gabriel pleads his case to Jadis, and Jadis says, okay, Tamiel, show Rick up, meaning take him up onto the top of this high garbage heap thing, and she pushes him over, and when he falls in, he has to fight this walker with I think his name was Winslow. I'm messing up. I haven't watched season 7 in a minute. I think it's Winslow. So, and but he's a giant walker all with this helmet and all these spikes coming out of him, and Rick, I won't say easily, but very quickly-ish, gets rid of it. And then him and Jadis finally come up with a plan. So she's like, okay, you get us guns and cans, and we'll help you fight your war with the Sabres. So that's pretty much what the next few episodes are, is, Rick and them trying to get these guns. That's one of the episodes. And they do succeed in getting the guns, and they take them back to Jadis, and she says, this is not enough, we need more. We do get to find out what's going on with Eugene, Um, Eugene's at the sanctuary, and he is being treated a lot differently than what Daryl got treated at the sanctuary. Negan is pretty much, gave him his own room, gave him a video game. He's pretty much, he's getting to hang out with Negan's wives. Yeah, Negan has Negan has a lot of wives, and he gets to hang out with them. But like Negan said, the rule is, you can hang out with them, but no sex. You know the rules, all that. And the reason why he does this for Eugene is because Eugene was able to help him with his walker problem at the fence, and it was Eugene that told him that, the reason why the walkers, Negan's like, well, the walkers keep rotting away and falling, how do I keep them on their feet? And he's like, well, you just get some hot cement, you heat up the cement and you pat them down with the cement. So that's it. Eugene's at the sanctuary, and he's pretty much becoming, a big shot over there. We get back to Oceanside. Tara finally tells Rick and them about Oceanside, and Rick and them go because Oceanside also has guns because they need more guns. And Tara tries to get Natalya to get the Oceanside to get into the fight. Natalya says no. Take the guns and leave, but we're not helping you. So that's that. They get the guns, they leave. They help. Some walkers attack. Rick and them help the ladies defend themselves against the walkers, and then they take the guns and they leave. Rosita and Sasha do this suicide mission to go to the sanctuary to try and assassinate Negan. Long story short of that goes south. It doesn't work. Sasha decides to go rogue and go into the sanctuary alone. Rosita books it back to Alexandra, but Dwight, on the way back out, she sees Dwight. And she takes Dwight back to Alexandria and puts him in the jail cell. And when Rick and them get back to Alexandria after getting the guns from Oceanside, they see that Dwight is there. And Dwight says, I'm here to help you. What else am I missing? Simon comes to Hilltop. Maggie and Daryl naturally have to hide because after Daryl does eventually decide to leave the kingdom. And the reason why Daryl decides to leave the kingdom is because one of the kingdom people, Richard, he wants to, he's in trying to get Ezekiel to get into the mindset of trying to help fight the Saviors with Rick. He decides to mess up one of their supply runs. Well, one of their trade runs to the Saviors by leaving a melon behind, which causes Benjamin to die. Morgan doesn't take very kindly to that, and because Richard failed to tell Ezekiel what he did, Morgan kills Ezekiel. Oh, no, I'm sorry, he doesn't kill Ezekiel. Morgan kills Richard. My apologies. Morgan kills Richard, and then he tells Ezekiel why he did it, and he's the one who set us up. And this is where Morgan starts going back to his little crazy mode, his clear mode, and he tells Ezekiel, just go back to the kingdom, I need to be alone for a moment. And then he goes and he collects himself, and then he goes and tells Carol about what happened to Glenn and Abraham. Morgan decides, that he's gonna go and kill all the Saviors. And Carol says, no. You don't have to do that. You can stay here, and I'll go back and talk to Ezekiel. And so that's what he does. Sasha is locked up in the sanctuary, naturally, and Negan's plan is to use her to try and get Rick to get back on board with things. So it's pretty much that Negan now knows that Rick is up to something, that Rick has been planning something, because a little birdie has told him this. And so, but Sasha doesn't want to be used as a pawn against her friends, so she begs Eugene to give her something so that she can kill herself. And Eugene, instead of bringing her something like a knife or something so she can kill herself, he brings her this cyanide pill. Well, okay, because she was hoping for a knife so that if Negan came back in, she could stab him. Mm. Negan also saves her from being raped by one of his people, and he kills him. I think his name was Davy, because Negan's rule is no, there is no raping in the sanctuary. There's no Negan is a person who is against rape. Uh so anyway, moving on. Wrap this up very quickly. Negan now knows. Negan put Sasha in this coffin thing. Will brings her back to Alexandria. Rick has now gotten the scavengers on board, so they're at Alexandria now, and everyone's just waiting for Negan. Here comes Negan and Eugene. Negan coming up. Eugene with the blowhorn, telling Rick, look, pretty much in his own way, telling him that, look, we know what you're up to. It's not gonna work. I have the cheat sheet to what you're doing. Pretty much trying in his way, trying to tell Rick, don't do what you're about to do. It's not going to work out well for you. Rick decides, and Rick asks him, "Where's Negan?" Eugene says, "I'm Negan." Rick gives Rosita the signal to blow up the to blow up. Well, use the dynamite. They had Rick dynamite to blow up all the saviors, and it doesn't work because, surprise, surprise. Well, no surprise to me, but surprise, surprise, the scavengers are on Negan's side, and they messed with the explosives so they wouldn't blow up. And so now Negan has the upper hand once again. He reveals Sasha to. He tells Rick and them that Sasha is in this canister alive, unknown to him. This is another change from the comic book, where in the comic book, Negan takes a character named Holly. Now, Holly was a character that doesn't play a big, significant role in the TV show. She was in season 6. She dies right in the second episode. She has like no lines. And she's like a throwaway character in the TV show. But in the comic book, Holly is the one that Negan had. And in the comic book, Negan did kill her as a trick. As a trick of a trade trick for Rick. In this version, I kind of felt bad for Negan in this scene because he really didn't lie. Sasha was in that thing alive, and but unknown to him, that Eugene gave her a suicide pill, and she took it, and now she's dead. So I kind of felt bad for him in that scene. It kind of made him out to be a liar, which Negan is not. Negan is a man of his word. So anyway, Sasha comes out as a zombie, attacks Negan. Negan falls. Carl starts shooting the scavengers, which starts a big gunfight. But the scavengers and the saviors pretty much get control of the situation. Gets Rick and Carl on their knees again, and Negan in this moment tells Rick, I like having fun. I do. This. I tried to warn you, but this is not a warning. This is not a punishment. And he was gonna kill Carl. And Rick, unlike in the beginning of the season, Rick doesn't flinch. Rick says, "You know what? You can do that right in front of me. You can take Lucille and smash my hand into pieces. You can take that bat and kill my son right in front of me. But nothing's gonna change. I am going to kill you. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But nothing is gonna stop that. You're already dead." Negan says, "Wow, okay." So he goes up, stands behind Carl, and goes to swing and kill Carl. Out of nowhere, here comes Shiva. Here comes the Kingdom people. Here comes the Hilltop. The cavalry pretty much has arrived, and they pretty much chase the saviors out of Alexandria. Negan and them get back to the sanctuary, and pretty much Negan says, "Okay, after asking Eugene how did Sasha die in that casket, pretty much Eugene just says, well, by her being locked up in there so long, she ran out of air. Negan goes, maybe. In that, yeah, okay, like, I don't buy it, but I'll accept it for now, you know. And then he just turns to all his people and say, we're gonna go to war. They all cheer. We jump to Maggie and Rick talking, and you see a montage of, you know, all of the Kingdom people and the Hilltop people and Alexandrian people meeting for the first time. You have a beautiful over speech from Maggie talking to Rick about, you know, how they're all family, and this is all because of Glenn, and we're just taking his lead, and we're gonna come together and go into this war. And that's the end of season 7. I have to say, this is not my favorite season. Season 7, in my opinion, is the weakest season of all 8 seasons. We're now starting the 9th season now. I'll get that review up soon after I do my review for season 8 in its entirety. But season 7, not the best season. It was really disappointing. The only thing this season really did was just, you know, get you prepared for all-out war, but they did it in such a very slow and dragged out way. And I don't think, normally I would say marathon season 7, but even in marathoning this, I don't, if you want my best opinion on how to watch the 7th season, watch episode 1, watch episode 2, watch episode 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, 15, and 16. You only need to watch 10 of these episodes. That's all you need to suffer through. The other 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, the other 6 you can skip. 6 of these you can really skip. And and depending on what you care about, you can even skip more than that. I mean, just skim this season. There's not much you really need to understand. Just understand that Negan is oppressing them, and then they're preparing to go into a war, and then just go right into season 8, which I will be doing a video next on. So I'll be back to review season 8 in its completion. I'm gonna do season 8 completely, and then I'm gonna give you my thoughts on season 8 as a whole, just like I did here. The Blu-ray and DVD release of season 7 was well done. No, they didn't give us the censored Negan stuff, but the special features, it's packed with special features. The commentary tracks were very nice, but it's just too bad that the season itself, just as a whole, wasn't as good as it should have been. I definitely give this season, if I had to be nice, I'd give it a B-. Yeah, it just wasn't much of it I really cared for. But I'm done. I'm going to do season 8 next. You all have a blessed day. I'll see you soon.